those very large, heavy wooden doors from the fellowship hall to the sanctuary, just ever so slightly opened.
Wow.
And closed.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Ectoplasm and Evil.
Ectoplasm and Evil, let's go. We got a very special guest in the building today. It's our homie Hiro Korsgaard.
Yeah.
Give it up.
Thanks, guys.
Hiro, what's poppin', my boy?
I thought we were going to do some like vocal warm-ups before this, like before we started into it. And also maybe we can have some like pre-roll ad reads of like some fake products or something.
That would be great.
Yeah, because I have noticed a lot of ad reads at the beginning.
Yeah.
Do you remember our fake product that we invented like maybe 10 years ago?
Yes, and then it ended up being tile, and then AirPods.
Yes!
It ended up being a real product. Yeah, then it ended up being a real product. That was fucked
up.
Yeah, we should have patented that shit when we had the chance.
I feel like this happens pretty often, you know? You'll come up with some good shit, and then someone else thinks of the same shit, and they actually make it, and then you're fucked.
And then you're fucked, yeah.
I know that I still have the notes for the
commercial
we wanted to shoot.
Well, here, the commercial could still happen. We could apply the commercial to a different product, right? Because, you know,
It's a universal problem.
It's a universal problem. Yeah, this is not a spoiler. You know, in the commercial, the problem that someone needs to solve is getting punched in the dick.
It's a constant threat at all times.
Yeah, at all times. Which, in this crazy world that we live in, it is.
That's right. Listeners, live in fear. Ooh, that's kind of a transition, too.
That is a transition. Live in fear. That could be a tagline for the whole fucking podcast.
Absolutely.
Live in fear.
Live in fear. TM.
Yeah. And it's almost threatening, like, if you choose not to, like, something bad will happen to you.
Yeah, you've got to live in fear.
Yeah, I mean, what's the implication if I choose not to live in fear? that Hiro's going to find me at my place of residence and
punch you in the dick.
And punch me in the dick. Hiro is here today to tell us a story.
He's come to our Halloween parties and told this story many times.
So we've heard it. It's one of our favorites.
Yeah, so obviously we had to retell it on the podcast.
We had to share it with our viewers.
Yes.
But before we get into that, tell us what you've been up to lately, man.
Well, most recently I've been developing a show that I hope will be going up this fall. So yeah, I am a director and a playwright.
Yep.
And the most recent play that you guys were at, called Conjure the Spirits.
Wonderful.
Very spooky.
Yes.
Right up the alley of this podcast.
Yeah.
So the people that listen to it, I wish they were able to see it because it was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
And it had a number of the elements that are going to be in this next one.
Okay.
Title pending still. The way that the audience sort of interacted with the characters in Conjure, in that you guys were ghosts and they could sort of tell that you were there. This next one is going to be an induction and an ascension day for a cult. And the audience members are going to be like new inductees into the cult.
So it'll be interactive in the same way.
Yeah, and in this one, because it's going to be in a larger venue that has rooms separated from one another, there'll be scenes happening between the characters simultaneously so that audience members can decide, hey, this is a character that I find compelling, this is a storyline I want to follow up on, because there's no way to get the entire story
just by one attend.
Since you have to follow the characters and they have their scenes simultaneously.
Wow. So this is the kind of thing that if you attended it multiple times, you could have a different experience every time.
Yes, yeah.
Is this inspired by any chance by Kaleidoscope?
I liked watching Kaleidoscope. I remember that when I watched it, we messaged about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, this is a cool idea to be able to have your viewing experience shaded by just what you've consumed beforehand.
Yeah.
And I think that it should hopefully like scratch the itch that I think a lot of audience goers have right now, that over the pandemic, we consumed basically the entire library of Netflix and everything. And so I feel like a lot of audience goers and a lot of media consumers are like, hey, give me a way to consume media that's not just me sort of sitting here and looking at the screen, because I've been doing that so much.
Yeah.
Give me some sort of agency in this.
Yeah.
And so at least in that way, I think that it's similar to Kaleidoscope in that it gives the audience member agency in the story that they want to consume.
Right.
Do you currently have a projected like date that you're launching this?
I'm hoping that it will have a September run.
Cool.
Yeah, just in time.
Yeah.
And a lot of the very, very good immersive and interactive performers here will have commitments in October for Halloween.
Right,
so
of course.
I want to make sure that
You get it in right before.
Well,
I
you
don't
can
miss 'em.
induct everyone into spooky season.
There we go.
Let's play.
Excellent.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Okay, so make sure that you keep us posted, and we'll
Yeah.
so that we could keep our listeners posted.
Absolutely.
Whoever's in the Los Angeles area can come and check it out.
Yep.
Excellent.
It reminds me of a haunted house, actually. I don't remember who told us this, but there was someone who I know who went to a haunted house with their partner, and they were separated at the house. So basically, you were made
Yeah.
to explore this house in separate wings. You would follow different halls, but then they would eventually converge in one place. So you had different narratives every time.
Couldn't be me.
Yeah, they split the line at this person and their partner, and they were like, okay, see you at the end of it. They never saw each other in the house.
I
They
only go
saw
to
each
haunted
other at the
houses
end.
because you're also there.
Can't make it through.
Can't make it through. Yeah, what the fuck am I gonna do? Yeah.
Yeah, no, when I heard that, I was like, okay, so I'm never going there.
Right. Yeah, fuck that. For the listeners out there, you should be aware before we get into anything here that it is possible that Hiro is currently possessed by Charles Dickens.
Yes.
Everyone should be aware of that. There should
Many
be
people are saying I was possessed. I wasn't possessed. There was no possession.
I don't know.
and that's a whole other story.
It is.
And we'll tell it another time, but you should be aware that it's possible that he is possessed by Charles Dickens, and we're unsure.
Well, okay. Well, now the podcast's going in the fiction column because I'm not possessed.
But if anyone were to pass by a mirror and want to hang out around there,
Yeah. It's safe. Everybody knows that it's chill to hang out by mirrors and to say things 3 times in,
Yeah, that's just the best
it's
way.
just normal.
It's normal and it's very cool and everybody should do it. That's the product that we should be pitching
And
right
it's
now.
very cool.
Yeah, stand in front of your mirror and say something 3 times and just sort of see what cool stuff happens. It's going to be good for you.
And anything, any phrase that you want.
Any phrase, if you want to say Charles Dickens' name, if
You have your traditional Bloody Mary.
correct, you could say
Classic.
Bloody Mary.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the options are endless.
You can call on Meg the Stallion.
Yeah. Everybody just do it. It's fine.
Do it. It's cool.
Yeah, join me.
Well, that leads us into our story for today. I guess, yeah, let's give a little preface and say that we, of course, have heard this before, like we said.
Yeah, a few times.
But as we're telling it on the podcast, we're going to probably delve into more detail than we perhaps have in the past.
Right.
So let's get into it. Set the scene for us.
Yeah, sure. So I went to a church in the Midwest in a small town with my grandmother when I was younger. And the church building, it is on the National Historic Register of Places. I'm not sure if it was part of the Underground Railroad or not, but a number of similar structures in the town were part of the Underground Railroad.
Wow, okay.
And so these historical buildings there tend to have some hidden compartments and labyrinthine layouts and the sort of things that somebody could use to be able to smuggle a person to freedom.
Right.
Right.
I know that it is part of the National Historic Register of Places, but I don't know that it was specifically involved in Underground Railroad. I just
Gotcha.
know that Underground Railroad activities were happening in the town.
For sure.
So this is very old, and it is also right across the street from another historic building. So it's a very small town, but there are a couple of very large buildings that have historical significance right across from one another.
Okay.
The one across the street is in one of the book series about famous Americans who might still haunt the houses that
Get out of here.
yeah, apparently, I think it's on his birthday at a certain time, his ghost is supposed to have been seen at his old residence.
Wow.
Very interesting.
All right. Something we might have to look into someday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that one's just right across the street from this building that was a wealthy family's manor before it was dedicated to and converted into being used as a church.
Okay.
Yeah, so the way that it's set up is it has 2 stories of where the residence was, a basement that was also used for entertaining. I think at one point they had one of those small bowling alleys in it.
Oh, tight.
Yeah, and then they had also added on a very large sanctuary. And so
When you say sanctuary, what elaborate.
Yeah, so the sanctuary in like a Protestant Christian church is what it was. That is where the pews are. It's where you'll have the long aisle down the middle that takes you up to the front. There's an organ.
So what people
pulpit.
think about when they think about a church.
Yes, yeah, stained glass on either side.
Nice, yeah.
And so the way that it was set up was that the residences were in one spot, and because the sanctuary had been added later, there were large, heavy wooden doors that lead out into this added-on portion. We had a youth group, and we'd get together and we'd do lots of things, including lock-ins. So the concept of the church group lock-in is where you have your youth group there. Everybody brings your sleeping bags. They bring movies. I'm trying to remember. I think that The Iron Giant was one of the movies.
Nice.
Yes, a classic.
Yeah, we would have watched.
So there was a TV in there.
Well, there was a TV in sort of like the salon area that everybody was setting up their sleeping bags in on the side.
And this was like, so this is basically a sleepover that would happen how often per se?
I'd say there were probably sleepovers every month.
Okay.
I'd say that's probably the frequency.
First of all, a lock-in is quite a name for it.
Yeah, it really is.
It's
like,
like,
we're going to keep you in here.
Yeah, what you doing next weekend, bro? Just going to the lock-in?
Yeah, we're going to...
Try and leave.
Yeah, well, what does that mean? Oh, well, they're locking us in a church.
Locked into this really old building.
Yeah.
That's real safe. Not at all spooky.
Okay, so you're already starting off with danger, just the premises.
Yes, and this was one of the many activities that would happen at the church. So, like, when I was attending there, this had been discontinued, but in years prior, they'd had, like, a Boy Scout troop that had their meeting place and the place where they'd keep all their records and their tents and everything in this very, very large basement. So these are like common activities that would happen at the church.
Yeah.
And so I decided for a particular lock-in that it would be fun to bring a Ouija board along.
I'm wearing a Ouija shirt.
Yeah, how appropriate.
Yeah, it was very purposeful. That was planned.
And so like because we had heard, hey, there's all this historic stuff that comes along with this building that our church is in. Let's see whether or not like we can use this to evoke anything.
So give us, about what age were you at this point?
I feel like I would have been in high school, so I was a mid-teenager.
Okay, for sure. And that's about the age of everyone else that was there too?
Yeah, I think that it was like high school youth group. Everybody was like in that sort of age group where we very much were like, ooh, like let's do a spooky thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was this co-ed or just dudes?
It was co-ed, yeah.
Okay. And approximately how many people?
So I'd say there were probably maybe 20-ish of us all together.
Okay.
And then the set of us that did the evoking of spirit, the conjuring of spirits.
Hashtag the conjuring.
Hashtag the conjuring. Was probably, I'd say, maybe like six of us ish.
Okay.
Yeah. The rest of everybody was still set up, watching Iron Giant or whatever it was.
I see.
Safe.
Yeah.
Keeping it safe.
Yeah. So when we went to set up the Ouija board to use it, we wanted to set it up in the fellowship hall is what it's called.
Okay.
It's a very large open space that's right next to those big wooden doors that lead you out to the sanctuary. It's where if you have a church potluck, that's where they would get out the tables and they'd set up all the stuff and you would have tables so everybody could meet up there.
Yep.
Essentially, it's where you would gather before or after the church services, and anytime that you were doing any sort of large event that wasn't specifically to happen in the sanctuary where the religious services took place, it would be in the fellowship hall.
Okay.
So this is a very large room. It's so large that if you turned on a light on one side of it, that light would not illuminate the other side of the room.
Ooh, that's spooky.
Damn.
Yeah. So we decided to take this Ouija board, obviously, to the dark half of the room.
That's the only way you're going to make contact. They don't want lights on.
Yeah. We cannot have too harsh a light shown.
No.
And so we took it over to the dark portion of it and we set our hands onto the planchette. We started to try to get in contact with the spirits. I don't remember whether or not there was a instruction pamphlet, but we just sort of like did the thing that you would do in a how-to Ouija, the sort of thing where we had our hands on the planchette.
The way one classically uses a Ouija board.
Right.
Correct. We attempted to conjure the spirits. So we did it. We got in contact with one and we asked it for a sign. Now, the way that the fellowship hall was set up, we had that one light on the other side of the room that didn't illuminate the entire hall. And then there was also an exit sign. And I think that those have like backup electricity, a
For
battery,
sure.
something along those lines.
Yeah.
So that in case the power is cut during an
Those are
emergency,
still
Yeah.
illuminated.
you'll see where the
You
exits
gotta know
are.
how to get out.
Yeah.
So we have our hands on the planchette and we're asking for a sign and like nothing seems to happen. But then just very soon thereafter and almost imperceptibly, that light at the other side of the fellowship hall and the illuminated exit sign flicker.
Oh, fuck.
Very, very spooky.
Both of them.
Yeah. Spooky flickering lights are a telltale sign of a ghost.
Red flag. Red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all, of course, we all freaked out and we're like, oh no. We run back to the salon where everybody's got their sleeping bags and their movie
Hold
going
up,
on.
hold
Yeah.
up. So the sign happens, you freak out and you bounce. So when you do that though, you do not classically use the Ouija board to say goodbye.
Oh, yeah.
We did not say goodbye.
You just freaked out or went.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Now, when we got together, we were talking about it. We were trying to decide whether or not something actually happened.
Yeah.
And maybe it was a power surge. Basically, running through all of the explanations that we could come up with for why this was not actually like that big of a deal. Or
Right.
anything
Right.
along those lines. And so naturally, because we were like middle teenagers, we had to go back to the well.
Yeah, of course.
Course.
Obviously. So, yeah, when we got our courage back, we started our way across the fellowship hall again. And we walked through like the illuminated area into the dark area. And I started to get this sort of feeling, you know,
The goosebumps.
Yeah.
the scaredy cat feeling that you get when like the unknown has happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know whether we should go all the way over there where it's dark.
Right.
And so I said, hey, everybody, like, why don't we just set up right here, stay in the light where we can be safe?
Right.
I was overruled.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want to do it in the scariest available.
Yeah.
Boys were like, stop being a bitch.
So we dialed it back in, you know, we got in contact with the spirit again. And I just had to reiterate, like, I think maybe, like, even though the last time might have been nothing, or maybe we just shouldn't gamble with it and we should go to the light, we should be safe. But the board is already set up, we're already moving our hands around.
Yep.
And basically we were telling the spirit that we contacted, hey, that was kind of ambiguous. We don't know for sure whether or not that was actually a
Yeah.
sign. Like, we'd asked for a sign.
Right.
Unclear. So actually, you know, give us a sign again just to verify.
Man, y'all
Yeah.
playing with fire.
Yeah, you really
Holy
are.
shit.
Because something crazy could happen.
And something moderately crazy did happen that time. We waited a second, and after we had asked for a sign, again, we had to give it a second.
Yeah, yeah.
But then those very large, heavy wooden doors from the fellowship hall to the sanctuary, just ever so slightly, opened
Wow.
and closed. And like these are heavy doors.
Yeah.
So
Oh man, I
Yeah.
can visualize that shit.
it didn't open too wide, but it opened wide enough for us to notice that something happened, and then for all of us to scream
Right.
and run
Back
back
into the light.
Correct. Yes.
Wow. Both yours and Adam's stories have involved heavy doors moving.
Yeah, well, heavy doors are a red flag.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, there'll be a heavy door so that you know that this could not have been moved by the wind.
Right.
Right?
That's why they would pick it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to, if I were trying to make some sort of communication, I wouldn't want to do something ambiguous.
right.
Like,
So let me just rewind for a second. When you guys first made contact with the spirit, right, before you even asked it for the sign, what was the communication
How did you know
on the
that you
like?
had
How did you know you had
contacted?
made contact? Do you remember what the spirit might have been saying? What people were asking it?
I don't remember any of those specifics. They sort of fell by the wayside because the actual happenings
Stood out
were
so
not,
much
like,
more,
important.
much.
But suffice it to say, though, there were preliminary communications before.
Yeah, the sort of thing that you'll usually see in this.
So
right?
probably
It's
like,
hey,
is there a spirit here?
yes.
What's your name? Did you ask his name?
I don't think we asked the name.
Okay.
No. And yeah, it was like, did you die here? That sort of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then can you give us a sign?
Yeah.
And
I don't know that we ever had to actually spell something out. We might have
Okay.
just done yes and no's.
okay.
But yeah.
And then you launched right into the danger zone of
Yeah.
the sign.
Give us a sign.
Yeah. Second thing happens. The doors do their thing, and y'all bounce back into the light.
Correct. Yes, we're back where the sleeping bags and where the rest of the youth group is, and we're going over this again. And we're like, okay, so the previous one, maybe it was just a power issue. This one, well, I don't know. Maybe it was like a draft, a very strong draft that we didn't feel anywhere else, but a draft nonetheless. These buildings are drafty because they're old.
Yeah,
Right.
And
makes sense.
So there was a potential reasonable explanation, but the timing of it was definitely
A little
And
shady,
then when
little sus.
you combine it with the timing of the first event, right?
Right.
yeah. And the thing is, there's a pretty big distinction in a lot of people's minds between Catholic and Protestant Christianity.
Right.
They're two different denominations.
It has been the cause of war and bloodshed in history. Yeah.
And for example, the new movie that's coming out, oh, this is not a pitch for that movie, like The Pope's Exorcist, right? The Exorcist, those are very specifically Catholic things
Yep,
that happen.
correct.
Whereas, at least in the denomination that I belonged to at the time and that the church was in, they didn't have exorcists or any of those sorts of things.
Right.
But interestingly, that denomination did have a particularly famous member that has a connection to your background.
Oh, well, I think I already know because of what you just said then.
That's right, yeah. So probably the most famous member of this denomination, the Protestant Church Disciples of Christ, is Jim Jones.
Yo.
Wow.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, so he was like an ordained minister with this particular denomination, and I remember seeing that this was a long time after I attended that church. I remember looking into Jim Jones and seeing that the church had done separate investigations into him, not finding any wrongdoing at the time
Of course
of the
not.
investigation.
Yeah.
And so
Did your denomination grow up wary of drinking Kool-Aid?
I mean, I don't remember us having any Kool-Aid at the lock-ins. So, whereas I feel like that might have been, they probably would have had it.
Probably would
otherwise.
have, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we didn't have any conception of we need to do like an exorcism, get the holy water. I don't think that we had holy
Because you didn't
water.
grow up with believing in that
Right,
per se.
we didn't
yeah.
have that. We didn't have the rosary beads to
Right.
do the thing and just do the holy water.
You just had Jim Jones.
We just yeah. And so while we were sort of thinking about, okay, there's got to be rational explanations, well, our minds weren't going to somebody's head's gonna spin around sort of thing.
Right.
So obviously, without that sort of fear in our minds, we went to go do it again.
Fuck.
Of course.
Third time?
Third time's a charm, baby.
There is no accounting for the stupidity of teenagers.
No.
Holy shit.
Listen,
I mean,
under the right circumstances, there's no accounting for the stupidity of anyone.
that's what I was going to say. For people in general, yeah.
I would go back and do this again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With the right group of people, I would fucking do anything.
Yeah.
You know?
I would be my man over here being like, I'm going to be safe on this side, yo.
You're gonna be safe over there?
Yeah, don't even worry about it, yeah.
So we go to the well, and we're going to Ouija for a third time. I once again, while walking through the fellowship hall, get the goosebumps and say, guys, I really think that we should stay in the light to be safe. Mm-hmm. But I'm once again overruled because it's scarier this way.
Could you tell if any of your homies were also scared, but they were just acting tough, or were they legitimately just like, fuck it?
I think that the ones who remained were...
So some people dropped off.
Yes, I
Okay,
do remember
gonna
that our
ask
numbers
that.
dwindled, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask if some
Oh.
people decided Iron Giant was the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay, so whereas you started with about 6, you said.
I'd say that probably we lost one or two of us each of the times.
So this last trip is maybe, what, 3 or 4
3 or
of you?
4 of us.
Yeah.
It's not that many people.
No.
And so we're sort of also making it so that there's fewer targets, right?
Right.
If there were something to happen, it's like, oh, oh, these ones.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we go to the well a third time. I voice my objection. I say I want to be safe. We do not. And so we get in contact with the spirit again, and we say, hey, listen, those previous 2 times, yes, you did sort of escalate in that you did the heavy wooden door.
But we ain't buying it. But we ain't buying it.
Give us a sign, for real.
Yeah, exactly. Give us a sign. But this time, nothing happens. And so we're like, oh, well, I guess that's kind of anticlimactic.
Right.
And hopefully, decades later now, if telling this story, hopefully that's not just the end of it, right? Because that would be pretty lame. So we pack it in, we go back with everybody else. Nothing exciting has happened this time around. And so we just sort of complete the sleepover. Each of the times that we do the sleepover afterward, we'll just sweep through the church to make sure that we haven't left anything out. Because we'd play, like sardines, a hide and go seek sort of thing.
Right.
And do all sorts of things. Make sure we hadn't left things a mess. So I remember that we were going through the very large basement. And I had mentioned that there had been, in years past, a Boy Scout troop that had used it for their meetings.
Yep.
Hadn't been in use for a very long time. We are going through there to just make sure that we hadn't made a mess there, just left everything the way that it was.
Right.
And when we happen upon the office section of where this Boy Scout troop had met in years past, I see that there's this cork board that has those little letters that the paper letters that you can stick on the cork board. And on this cork board, you use it to give announcements or stick brochures, that sort of thing. The letters spelled out a phrase.
Uh-huh.
And on this sign, it said, be safe.
Yes.
Really good.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
it's
so...
Casper, the friendly ghost.
Well, yeah, first of all, you have to say, you got to respect the spirit that's just having a little fun, right?
Yeah.
Not anything harmful.
Nothing malicious, just these kids.
Yeah, but that's he heard Hiro.
Yeah,
definitely. And he was like, "Yo, that's a good tagline for today."
Yeah.
When y'all saw that, what was the immediate reaction?
I mean, it was very much similar to us having seen the doors open,
right?
Or us having seen the lights flicker,
right?
We happen upon it and the screaming, and we run back upstairs and we regroup with everybody because we're like, you're never gonna believe what just happened.
Wow. Did people see it simultaneously, or was there one or two people that saw
noticed
it?
I can't remember who noticed it, but it was very much a thing that we would, when we were policing the area, we would split up and look at different rooms to efficiently make sure that we hadn't left messes everywhere.
Right.
So yeah, I'm trying to remember who it was, but it would have been a smaller subset of everybody.
And then it called everybody else.
Correct. Yes.
Now, do we know that there was nothing on this corkboard before?
Or anything? Absolutely would have noticed that beforehand, because that's one of the areas that we would go to do our sardine/hiding and going around and tag that sort of thing.
Right. So was it fully empty? If you could,
I want to say that there were probably old-timey, from years past, brochures for different summer camps and that sort of thing stuck to it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Maybe meeting next Friday at 7 or something like that.
That sort of thing, yeah. Because, the scout troop wasn't meeting there anymore, but who knows if they wanted to start it up sometime. They just want to keep all the administrative stuff in the same place.
Yeah.
Man.
Wow.
That punchline always gets me.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's such a good... I felt goosebumps as you were about to deliver it.
Yeah.
I like knowing that it's sort of a cornerstone of our spooky storytelling get-togethers.
Yeah.
And in that, we have some that we know we can go to, that each time we return to it evokes those feelings.
Right.
And I think it also gives a little bit of accessibility to anybody who is maybe scared of speaking in front of people, more so even than ghosts.
Yeah.
Or or talking to strangers. It's hey, listen, we've got an accessible story. This is just the sort of things that we've done and experienced, and you can share yours too.
Yeah. No, it's
Definitely.
a classic go-to. It's it's part of tradition at this point.
Yeah, it's watching your favorite horror movies around Halloween.
Yeah,
We have our special stories that we tell.
It is exactly like that.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you, where you can keep up with Hiro. It's hiro.korsgaard on all platforms. Is that correct?
That's right, yes.
Okay, spell it out for everyone.
Hiro, and then it's dot, and it's Korsgaard.
On all platforms. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that about wraps it up for another episode of Ectoplasm and Evil. We'll see you next time.
Or will we?
Be safe.
It's cool.
Live in fear. How many tags can we have?
Every last one.